What's up, everybody? Welcome to TeslaFix. And again, we have to talk about the Starship launch. Of course, we need to have somebody who was on the ground there and actually watched this whole thing. So we have a very special guest today, but we're going to look at, again, the catching of the Starship. And also, I want to know how the feeling was, how the people reacted. So that's why we have a very special guest today, and I'm very happy to have her on. So let's see who it is.
Welcome to TeslaFix. Make sure to subscribe and like this episode.
Kristen is here again,
Hi.
finally. Yay, here she is again. We've missed you on the channel. It was like 1 year ago or something like that, or one and a half even when we had an interview. I remembered that your new puppy, you had a new puppy, very cute dog that was jumping around, his cute little fella. But today we are talking about a very special thing, and I mean you've been to two very big events. Like you can tell, you can already tell on your merchandise you have the swag on.
Yes.
So Chris, maybe you want to jump in here and just tell us about your last 2 days, kind of, or 3-4 days. Something like that.
It's a blur. It's been so exciting. Wow, where do I even begin? Went to the Robot event. Elon, somebody who follows me on X, shouted out to Elon, like, let Kristen come. And Elon said, okay. And so I'm golden. I booked my tickets, go down, and I'm going to the Robot event for Tesla, which is phenomenal. For those of you who have been following Tesla, we've been looking forward to the Robotaxi unveil. And here it is. And it was an amazing event.
Yeah, it was. And now, I mean, we've seen something very special today, and you've shared something very funny about the catch, about the big catch. I have to share it here for the audience also to see, because it was a good omen. The long cat really was a good omen. And it's very funny too. The comparison, you can really tell. And also, of course, I'm going to share something else. So first of all, how was it? You went there. When did you arrive? Was it 4 hours before launch, or did you meet up with people beforehand, or how was it? I mean, it was very early, so I think
the day after the event, Elon posted, we're going to launch Starship October 13th, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I mean, it starts out like Elon had Starship Flight 4 had just launched that day a while ago, back in and I had asked Elon, what iteration do you think we're going to see the mecha catch a Starship? And he said, well, let's try it for Starship 5. So I've told myself since then, I've got to go to this launch. Elon literally confirmed something that nobody knew. And all of a sudden it's, the Mechazilla is supposed to catch the Starship booster, and I've got to go to this. So booked tickets the day before yesterday, and flew out of Burbank, out of LA, and came straight to Brownsville, and I got in like at 9:30 last night, quickly drove out towards Starship to see it by the beach.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And then got up at like 3:30 this morning to get to Rocket Ranch. And it's the closest location you can watch the Starship, and watched history be made, because it was caught. They caught the booster, which is just phenomenal.
So how was the reaction by the audience? Because I'm going to show here a small summary of everything. So here's Elon walking around with the workers. And this was for an everyday astronaut. He did a very nice coverage of that. And then we saw the launch kind of. I can imagine people were cheering already. I mean, we've seen that already, but like in the past, we've seen some launches, but this one was out of this world, let's just say.
Oh my gosh. Like that video footage, wow. I've not seen all that.
Like that's the beauty of Starlink, right? I mean, they had such a nice, and okay, this one was I think CGI, but somebody did such a great overview. But so how was it? How was the reaction of the people?
It was surreal. We were counting down, getting ready, and then sunrise was at 7:27 and launch was 7:25. We're like, wow, here we go. Sun coming up, launch going off. It takes off really fast. It's beautiful. The sky's clear. We're all cheering. And it's like the Starship and booster are overhead, and they uncouple, and we're like, it's coming down. And the booster just shot down fast. I think everybody who watched it were like, whoa, look at it go. Oh my gosh. And we're like screaming and cheering, and it starts coming closer. We're like, is it going to make it? Is it going to make it? And it slows down and it gets like right next to it. And then it hugs it and it makes it. And we just all start screaming and we're like in shock. Like people have adrenaline rushes and we're like, no way, it actually did it. So it's surreal. It actually, first try, it worked.
Yeah. I mean, this like it's history being
It
made
is.
because do you think that if, I mean, we've seen it beforehand, but what's your opinion on launching rockets like this into space by government bodies? Because we have this big discussion sometimes about, the government's so inefficient or whatever. And then we have a private company that does it. And I mean, this one really, like SpaceX was like one rocket launch before going bankrupt. And this one worked. And I mean, imagine the history, like the trajectory. We wouldn't have Starlink and stuff like this. It's, So how's your view on that? Does it make sense to have like privatized companies? I mean, the answer is obvious, but still, I wanted to ask this.
I mean, it's definitely changed the trajectory of the way things are at this point. And as people who watch Elon companies like Tesla needed things from other manufacturers to the point Tesla just brings it vertical integrate in-house. And we're at the point where, look, Tesla or SpaceX now is making the rocket booster and Starship, and it's more powerful than the Saturn V. It's basically telling NASA now what it needs to move forward because it is the giant leading the way now. And this just changes everything. Like watching this, so it's wild to see the private company doing, but it's cool. And people are like, "Oh, it's too much." I'm like, man, there's a saying, when you see a man doing something well, ask him to do something because he'll get the other jobs done too. And that's kind of Elon. Like he gets it done. His companies get it done.
Yeah, and for me, it's so interesting to all the political discussions and stuff like this and blah, 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 everything that's going on in the US. Me as an outsider, I'm already confused about the whole system, that it's all about kind of money and who gets more donations and stuff like this. It's so strange for an outsider to see this, because here in Europe it's way different kind of.
Right.
It's similar in some sense, but of course you need to have donors and stuff like this, but it's not as important. It's not about that. People don't not run because the donations were low or something like that. It's just about but it's different. But we also have the multi-party system and whatever. But it's still interesting to see that. And now this, for me, is always a breath of fresh air, because I don't really care as much about politics, but about the trajectory that the technology heads. And if I see something like this, I'm like very excited, because I'm like, yes, more of that, please, more. Because this inspires me actually, and not like politics doesn't inspire me. Like, oh yeah, great, we have a debate about something. I really love to to see something like that. Or also the Robotaxi event was amazing for me. Still, of course, some things were missing, but or things I was expecting. For example, a product launch or something like that, a real one that you can order something. But we will get there eventually. But it was interesting to see that coming together. So. How's your view on the technology leap that we're witnessing? Do you think people from the US are aware that this is just in the US?
You know, as far as the Robotaxi or the Starship?
No, the whole technology leaps that we had kind of is just in the US. Full self-driving is just in the US, and also the Starship launch and the way they do space travel is just in the US. I mean, we have space programs in different countries, but not as
like
advanced as in the US. And I don't know if the Americans are really seeing this.
You know, it's unfortunate because, like you said, things are politicalized. With the election coming up, there's so much showcasing of that. When we are making history with the Starship and FSD, that's really... You know, a civilization, a nation should focus on its technological curves and advances and what keeps it ahead. And you would think that the government officials and the media would be showcasing that and be proud of it, because that's what makes it stand out. That's what gives it a lead. That's what its future is. And it should be something that everyone should know. But the media doesn't cover it as much, oddly enough. And maybe people are blind to it or not aware of what's happening, but it's happening. Like, you're not going to slow down the progress. It's just might take some people who are unaware by the blind side. Like, I don't know, but for those who do know, we're all so excited. You know, it's wild that it's happening, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I've told this many times already on the show that I've been to the US and I've tested FSD in San Francisco with Omar's car a little bit. I've sat in it, and then I tested with Dirty Tesla's car in Michigan.
Nice.
Like 12.4.1, so no steering wheel input. And before that, I've tested it even with the nag.
Right.
And I was like, I always tell that here, people tend to forget if they complain about, oh, this is not working, or this is not working, or this there, I needed to disengage here. Guys, you're the only country in the world that has this.
It's
and
like
I'm sitting here in Europe, and I'm like,
yes,
why don't we have this? But at least we have this.
I know.
Wait.
No way you're going to do that.
Wow.
I've seen other people do that. I know. Regulation really
is great. I mean, this is great, but in the US, rockets are landing. You catch boosters of rockets now. I mean, this is just amazing, and we have this kind of regulations.
It is.
Great
I mean,
job.
thank you for like mavericks like Elon, who still like are leading forward with vision. We need that. It's so cool. It's so exciting. Like, I feel really incredibly blessed, and I'm grateful to be able to go back to back to two such monumentally historic events that Elon's companies have showcased this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, looking at this, I mean, this is just crazy. I think that's very important, because this looks okay-ish. And you don't really have a size comparison, because you have just the horizon kind of, and people tend to forget what they catched. So I've made a small edit here to showcase what was being catched. Look at this. The Statue of Liberty was catched, guys. So everybody knows this was being catched.
That's hilarious.
It was the Statue of Liberty being catched.
Yes, same
because
size.
From the height, it's exact. The booster is about the height to the head of the Statue of Liberty. Even maybe it could be even taller than the Statue of Liberty. This is not accurate. It's just a showcase that people see kind of what was happening here, because
Seriously.
I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, if you imagine a human that's very, very miniature, like an ant, this is so big. This is like a skyscraper that's catching another skyscraper.
The engineering feat with all those the joints and the opening and like everything is just, these people are teeny compared. They're making huge pieces. It's wild.
Yeah.
That's such a good graphic. I like that you did that.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that.
Well, I like that you found it.
Yeah, but no. So the Statue of Liberty, I've tracked into the shot, but the mecha robot, like mecha Godzilla thing,
just perfect
wasn't
fitting.
for me. Yeah, but it's so amazing. I mean, how it just lands and everything, and that it worked was just crazy. And here also, I love this shot, for example, as well. I mean, this one was also awesome.
Yes, going into the water.
Yeah. So this one obviously needs to be catched too. Do you think we will see, like, how exciting would be a launch where both would be catched?
Well, I think maybe I should ask Elon then. What iteration do you think we're going to see the Starship land, as well as the booster being caught by the mecha, just so he can follow up for flight test 6? Because maybe next.
We need so he needs to tell a timeline.
Yes,
so we know what's happening. Yeah, but it's amazing. It's history being made. So for you said it was exciting being there and witnessing this. And how was the excitement? Could people believe that it was catched? Because I've seen people really tearing up and falling apart almost. Like they could not believe it's seeing it. And I can imagine this is a total different story being there than just,
I
don't know, watching it here. Yeah.
High-fiving each other. They were excited. They were in disbelief. They were in shock. They were excitement. People related. People were on adrenaline rushes after that. And everyone was cheering and screaming. And I think, some of my favorite stuff to hear is when Fremont with the SpaceX at Hawthorne, not Fremont, at Hawthorne, the SpaceX employees, as they're showing the live video footage, screaming and just cheering because you know how much work and hours and sweat and engineering put into this, and they're just so excited, and like I love hearing that. That is great.
Yeah. So, what gets you exciting for the next steps, kind of, because you've been to both events? I mean,
how can we outdo anything that we've just done now? Like,
yeah,
I'm still like reeling from what I just saw. It's unreal. The Robotaxi itself, the design, I put out an iteration of just a Robotaxi design in July, and ironically, it looks like my design kind of. So I was flipping out about that. There's so many. I'm excited for Europe to get FSD. Honestly.
Oh yeah,
for you to get over there finally.
Who are you telling this to? I mean,
I know.
I'm waiting patiently because I really want to get into it. Maybe we can just jump over now to look at the Robotaxi event as well and putting it into context here, because I think this is also very relevant here. So I have this nice overview that somebody compiled together. This one's from Gary, who's from the Tesla Owners Club in Canada, Ontario, I think. So yeah, over here you can see like these things happened kind of in the same weekend. This is just what?
That is just wild. That the video in the front center when it shows the doors open, I think that's a clip of my video actually.
Yeah, that could be.
Because that looks like the one that I surveyed. Elon actually liked that post that I had. No one knows anyone he likes things anywhere, but like the Robotaxi van. My gosh, it looks like the Mercury Streamliner, the old the old rail engines from the 20s.
those Art Deco things, right?
Yes, Art Deco style. Love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, so many people Wall Street was disappointed because they wanted to see more AI. I've also debated this with Brian from Futuraza, kind of why it was a disappointment for them. So we kind of thought into their or emphasized with them, try to figure out what they were looking for. And obviously it is like the lack of AI things, like for example Grok integration somewhere would be nice or something like that. And also the Tesla bots were teleoperated to some degree, and also were walking at least autonomously, probably, we don't know, but this is just speculation. And they had their showcase modes where they dance, for example, because we've seen some dance moves, of course, of that too. So these are pre-programmed things. But do you think this is a downer while you were there at the event? Because for me, I'm always a hype man, and I love to see like visions also, to see the concepts like this coming together, because this makes something in your brain, it clicks. For me, it's like, okay, obviously, okay, that's the trajectory. Now we just need to they just need to operate, and then they will get there because they are already there with many things, like FSD, for example. This Robotaxi driving around could be teleoperated too, but I assume it was FSD. But because we've seen FSD on the road. Yeah. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, I definitely think it's FSD on those vehicles. As far as the bots, I mean, 3 years ago, someone was jumping around in a jumpsuit pretending they were an Optimus. And we already know Grok has literally, like, it's right there under the cusp of OpenAI's ChatGPT. I mean, and that was within no time. So if people are thinking, or Wall Street, that this is just not enough, that it wasn't kit and caboodle because maybe it was teleoperated, they didn't want to make sure that, they didn't want the robots to tip over, or they didn't want it to say things it shouldn't. I feel like it's going to be in it tomorrow anyways. Like maybe they wanted it delivered, but there were so many people at this event, and I don't know what restrictions they had to put on to keep those bots safe, because they're proprietary information, So even if you could get close to the bots, there's a lot of teams around it just to protect the bot and like watch it. But I'm excited. No doubt those are going to be walking around and talking on their own easily. So
yeah, I also think because what amazed me so much was that we've seen those teleoperation videos slightly. That they just were panning around the factory. Then you could see that they were placing stuff into cabinets and stuff like this, and trying stuff, and also training the computer, the AI kind of to do it, and also like folding shirts and stuff like this. And now we saw them in a use case with teleoperation, but in a social setting, which is a different kind of skill set to do. And this already for me is a huge use case for marketing, like big time. I would buy like 3 of those pods immediately and just rent them out for events, and they will be a showstopper. People will stop and just be amazed because they're so advanced. So I think they already have a product to sell now. That they could with teleoperation and getting those things out. Of course, they will not do that for now. But I mean, this is so interesting seeing that. How was it for you to interact, like drive with the Robotaxi? Because I assume that being there is totally different than just watching it from the outside, because then you can just nitpick and say, oh yeah, and this, and but you don't have the experience being there. So you drove around with an autonomous vehicle that didn't have a steering wheel. So and then you got a drink at a bar where, I mean, nobody mixed a cocktail, but they gave, like, it was functional. You received a drink and had small talk with the Tesla bot. So how was that?
Getting in the car, call. I think you saw they had Model Ys there, so everybody wanted to be in a Robotaxi. You know, the lines, you wait up at different stations, get in the car, and when they're like, it's your turn, and here comes the Robotaxi, exactly, and it's like these lights, and the road's a little misty, and you're getting excited. You get inside. The screen's really big, you know?
Yeah, it's way bigger, right? Yeah.
And they're telling you, you know, buckle up, you know, press your destination, and we didn't quite. At first, they thought the guy was just kind of telling us about futuristic how it would work, but he really means the car doesn't start till you buckle up. So we buckle up, you choose a location where you want to go. I mean, the whole thing was just laid out really fun. So we chose Westworld, and they chose New York, and it just starts driving you to that area. And as you're driving, it shows something. There's no pedals. The seats were really comfortable. Like it was very comfortable, very, very nice. Like you could see, I don't know. It was just, I enjoyed it. I thought it was wild. I didn't question that I would be safe or not or anything. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, because many people already experience FSD. Me too. That's the problem, because then I came back to Europe and I just like totally trusted my lane keeping. Yeah. Almost to a point where I would assume like it's not the same software stack. I need to be careful with that. But I'm really now that I know how capable it is, it's easier for me to kind of rely on it kind of even more. I mean, I can imagine that sitting there, I was already amazed not having to touch the steering wheel in the US, and now I can imagine sitting there. It's insane, right? It's crazy.
It is insane. It was crazy to watch. It was cool to watch them go around. The car's beautiful aesthetically, and it's very comfortable. And then I saw some people that had bags. They'd open up the trunk and stick them in there, and the trunk is quite spacious. So people, you know, I mean, think of downtown Manhattan. Instead of having all these polluting taxis, you have something that's quiet and clean. The air's cleaner. You just get the 2-seater, because most people who take a taxi, it's usually yourself or one other person. It's a rarity that you need a whole, you know, van for people, which, I mean, they've got the RoboVan, you know, things like that for people. But this little vehicle would be perfect. It's going to revolutionize smart cities. It's going to revolutionize little cities, big cities. It'll be really cool.
Yeah, and also when you compare it from the technological standpoint, this is so brutal. I've tested the Waymo in San Francisco, I think even with that car, with the Jaguar I-Pace. And it was good. It was, I mean, I trusted it 100%. I was sitting in the back seat. It was an interesting experience. Shout out to Omar here that just sent me one that was pretty nice.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And like, so like, get in, Omar. I'm like, okay, what do I do? So review of that coming up too someday. I mean, my backlog is just crazy. But yeah, so have you driven a Waymo before?
I've been in a Waymo in Phoenix when it was, and it's geofenced in that area. That's the thing is the vehicles are really, they've got the LiDAR, they're geofenced, they're not going everywhere. They're expensive Jaguars by Tata Motors. They're just, to scale those up is a whole different ballgame, you know?
Yeah. So in comparison, I mean, okay, it's a different use case. This one was like in a film set kind of thing.
Yeah,
you were driving through an artificial town, but still, where did you find yourself more comfortable? I mean, the question is maybe...
Definitely in the Robotaxi. It is extremely comfortable. We still had to put a belt on. I mean, but it was very comfortable. The Waymo felt like you were in someone's minivan. Actually, I might have been in a Waymo minivan. I don't know if they had them, but it was a bigger one. And it was really weird, you know? And it's got the plexiglass. You can't go up front. It's got the steering wheel and pedals all moving up there, you know?
Yeah. That's true. I mean, for me, it was like, okay, this is a regular car. It's a little bit, I mean, you cannot look through the roof because then you had the stuff on top. And they look futuristic, but like you can tell, but the Robotaxi really looks futuristic in the sense that it's just clean. And I love that they just reduce everything to the max to save money at first. Also, of course, it's a cost question, but also, I think it just makes sense because now also we've seen, I assume you also heard about that all the LiDAR companies just fell off a cliff, sadly, now. Because, nobody will, nobody puts an R&D anymore into LiDAR now. Because
it's interesting.
Now it's solved by vision AI, kind of. And now they are switching. And of course, do you think Waymo will still have a use case for a bit? And when you think about the future, how long will they prevail, in your opinion?
Wait, are the Waymos in Europe?
No. Just as a use case, we seen them in San Francisco. Maybe we have a niche case where they will operate even besides the Robotaxi. But at which point do you think will they kind of be overtaken, or will they be overtaken, or how do you see that?
I mean, it's going to be a battle of jurisdictions and cities and what companies have power there and who knows who for a while until I think things start ramping up. And that's going to be economics cost factor. You know, what works? What are people liking? What do consumers prefer? And I think the Robotaxis, I would assume going forward, Robotaxi probably will be that car. But we'll have to see. And Waymo is probably going to be around for another 3 to 5 years. But I mean, it's got a lot of different hiccups of its own, and I don't know how they're going to ramp that up. Plus, like you're saying, the LiDAR is falling off a cliff, so that's going to be interesting. Robotaxi is going to ramp up faster than that, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and for me, what amazed me, or that's something I really critique about the hate that Tesla gets from normal media or maybe finance media, maybe. Of course, it would be nice to have a use case or a projection, how much money or revenue you could generate. That's something they really like, of course, obviously. But I think it's about the vision of the company, where the trajectory is heading. I was expecting something else, like more or a product showcase, or I was expecting a van that you could order with the steering wheel or without one. So the without one is you know that you have the van and. But of course, seeing the Robovan,
Robovan, I know
that. I don't imagine that this thing will come with a steering wheel, obviously, because it would make sense. It's not a car kind of thing. So for people to operate. So we will see there. I think it's more of a vision, and but I still think that people overlook the impact of FSD already. Now you have pretty nice ass in the US, so actual smart summon, that's what I mean.
True.
And this one is also crazy because you can already be picked up by your car at the entrance of a shopping mall or something like that. And well, how nice is that?
So nice.
So have you tried ass already?
I did. Yeah, I did for a short bit, right before I flew down. It was good. Yeah. And like what you're saying with the Robovan, I'm looking forward to them putting in the boring tunnels. This is perfect. People in Vegas will love these. They're luxurious looking. I mean, it looks like a 1920s beautiful lounge. It's futuristic and retro, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to pull up a video real quick of that because I think people will need to know. I mean, here are the seats, for example. This one is also very nice. Look, they look very comfortable.
It looks very similar. Yeah. Similar seat as the Robotaxi, actually, now that I look at it. It's a different color.
Interesting. So these are similar. So that's interesting to note. And they had this concept of those puffy ones that just had those, like a designer chair, many of those rolls kind of that go up or half rolls kind of. Yeah. But here also, let me see, I've prepared something here. People getting out here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is, yep. Some VIPs getting in and out. It's like the never-ending car. Look at all the people. There's Franz.
Yeah. So what Brian mentioned, what I also thought interesting is that, yes, we've seen prototypes and we've seen concept cars everywhere. And he said that sometimes in the community, people are so hyped about this, like they forget that people already, like we know concept vehicles are not so hard kind of to do.
Yes.
But the difference for me still is I know that Tesla will be able to pull this off. And that's the difference here. Because if they're determined to design it like this, I can imagine they will have adjustments and they will do something else, or they have an iteration in between. Like the Cybertruck got changed a bit, but I can see that this concept could go through. And so you also think that this one will come like this?
Well, I mean, I don't know all the specs and what it looks like in and out, but obviously it's going to have to be tweaked a little bit for mass production, and it's going to have to be, you know, changed for hard usership. You know, I don't know if that white will, I mean, the white, actually, I take that back. You know, the white leather that we have in our cars is extremely durable. So it probably will stay like that. I mean, yeah. And it's probably contracted to work in the boring tunnels and other places. Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Yeah. And we have this in between state. Like we have.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we can use like this thing could be used in the boring tunnel at first. Some use cases there. And so it will, but it will take some time. When do you think? Do you think the timeline of 2 years is realistic? Because one worker was standing next, like there was an interview with Kim Java, I think it was, and she asked, and then the one, what did Elon say? And he's like sweating already, like 2-year timeline. And he was like, oh God, okay.
Well, he'll hire whoever he needs to get it done.
Sure.
I mean, look at that. He literally, I mean, I asked, when do we think what iteration will the Mecha? And Elon throws it out there. I think we should try to catch it with this next one. It's like all the engineers are like, whoa, we're going to do this. But look at it. They aimed for it and they did it. I think aim for a really high standard of a timeline and surprise yourself. Like, you might just happen. Like, you can't, sometimes Elon's the kind of person in his companies that bring things to people. They're visionaries and they're changing things. They don't, if you waited around for the general public to catch on, they wouldn't, because they're not leading with the vision they're following. So
yeah, you're right. I mean, we had the situation with Steve Ballmer famously said, business customers want a keyboard on their phone. And he laughed the iPhone off. Yeah. But who's laughing? I mean, not Microsoft, I can tell you that in the end.
That's so true.
They sad, but or also like Kodak. Oh, digital. I mean, of course, film is the best quality you have until it's not the best quality anymore. Until you have digital, and they were scraped off the market. I mean,
or Sears.
And they, exactly. And you need to imagine Kodak, for example, had, like, this is how disruption happens. Kodak actually had a division that was digital in the 80s. Imagine that. They already had that lined up, and it was expensive, and the results were not good, obviously, because they had technological limitations, but they could have been the first movers in that game, but they weren't. So they scrapped the project like after 5 years of development and just went with film. And I mean, they got their Kodak moment, I could tell you that.
Gosh, and now Kodak's like this ancient dinosaur. You can find rolls of film that you can develop with little like kitsch kind of developed stores. Like, you're lucky, but it's like what someone does is a hobby. Yes.
I mean, it's a global player that's shrunken down to like miniature size now.
So true.
That's how disruption happens. It's just crazy. And also like the inkjet printer and the ball printer. There was also something like the ball printer was a thing, and then they didn't believe in the inkjet printer, and suddenly the inkjet printer came, and they were like, "Whoa, what?" They went out of business immediately, and I mean, well, that's how it works. So, yeah, I mean, Kristen, it was amazing, like talking with you a little bit about the details here, because I love this kind of like first-hand experience of that, and I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know I don't need to go into too much technical detail, because for me it's the whole ecosystem, or the whole. As a designer, I'm from design, so for me it's like about the whole experience, about the user experience, and for me it's about the details. And when I go up to my Model 3 Highland, for example, that I own now finally since 1 year or beginning of this year, it opens up automatically, like it unlocks the door. I mean, then I get in, then I sit down, I just buckle up, I tap on the brake one time, and then it's already set in the right gear, so to drive or reverse, depending on where I stand, because they detect, of course, if I have an obstacle up front or in the back. And I've tested FSD in the US, so for me, like these kinds of things just come together, and that's why I found it so funny to see the valuation stuff or people like, oh no, sell your Tesla shares and stuff like this. Or the big banks and everybody was alarming, like, oh god, the event was a flop, a total flop. No, in the US, people commute to work daily with FSD already. This is the Robotaxi, just in disguise, kind of. It just needs another update, and this will be solved in the next 2 years. I really believe that, and I mean, it's already so good. And of course, it needs to do just one mistake to be fatal or not, like get somebody injured or whatever. But statistics speak for themselves, and this will get better and better. So I'm very excited for this.
Me too. Yeah. And you draw a really good point. You know, we have permanent city structures from the tube to rails that we set down, that we spend billions to change if we have to change a city block. You know, if a city invests in this as their structure instead, they can change the path. They can change the path when there's construction. They have a fleet of cars they can park somewhere and pull them back out, and it could work just as well as the tube. And they only need to send out as many as maybe an AI is counting heads that come down to take the station for the day, and then they can park the rest. It's very cost effective. That's very true.
And not only that, I think that's why I think in this episode it's important to draw this line between SpaceX and Tesla. That's why it's perfect, like this hybrid. Like you went to both events. That's pretty nice.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is, like, having now this will make like the booster being being catched now means that the fare to space will become significantly lower. This means more companies will get their tech up. And Brian did actually a pretty nice comparison.
Nice.
You know, the International Space Station. This rocket would take two flights to get the whole space station up.
Wow.
And this is insane. Yeah. So they took years and years to fly many rocket missions up to get the International Space Station going. And you could do that with this semi rocket, I would call it, because this thing can deliver way more packages up there. And or let it be 3, but it's in comparison to what we had before, it's just different, and the size is different. You could, I don't know, send from the boring company a boring head up, because
with a bunch of
the diameter matches up. The diameter of the boring head to borer or whatever it's called is a similar diameter like this. I think they could shoot it just up, which is
probably
just funny to see, like almost like somebody had a plan of this all along. It's like
Mars,
like
maybe?
Somebody's thinking ahead.
Yeah.
You also know the Tesla bots. Suddenly everything makes sense, of course. And I mean, it's such a long-term plan this will unveil, and it's just crazy with all the technologies. We have Starlink from SpaceX, and I am 100% sure the Robotaxi will get that when it's launched, because we have the Starlink Mini that could fit on a roof of this car, of course, because it doesn't have a glass roof, and I assume they just hide it in there somewhere. Totally possible, and not too complicated. And the integration of software, everything that Tesla already does, is amazing. So I believe also that they will. I mean, for example, that's the thought that I had. I hope I don't. I'm spamming you just with my thoughts. I hope it's okay. That's you have with Google that the shop is busy right now, and you see, or it's less than usual, the people that are there. I think similarly, if you have a calendar and you sync your calendar with the Tesla app, and you don't even have a Tesla, you just use the Robotaxi network, and then you walk around, or there's a festival or something going on, I can imagine that they can calculate kind of, okay, we need more Robotaxis in that area to that time, and they how do you say, pre-calculate when there is more or less demand. So stuff like this, I think, because Google already showed it that it works, and I think Tesla can pull this off too. But this with the integrated software, with a dedicated Robotaxi network, they won. I think they already won. I think they have the capabilities to do this.
That's so true. The future, that makes sense with the calendars. That's amazing, right? I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. I'm just nerding out. Sorry. I'm interviewing you, not the opposite. Like,
well,
I'm
I
talking
like the thought. I mean, it comes to you. Like, you got to share it. Like, it's so cool. It's so true.
Yeah, but it's fun with you because, like, also when we met in Austria, for example, we were already like nerding out, and it's always fun. We have nice nerd chemistry in that sense.
So true. I know, you gotta love this community, because we get together and like we could endlessly talk about these things. They're so good because we all dream and we get it, and that's what we talk about. So true.
Yeah, nobody will divorce us because that's because if I would tell my wife all of this, she's like, please tell it to the internet. I cannot
Everybody
bear it
says
anymore.
that their family is so done hearing about it. Their friends aren't into it as much. Like,
and we just get together. What's happened? Oh no, and I don't want to know.
I don't want to hear another vision. No more visions.
No more visions.
That's so funny. So true.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kristen, thank you very much for doing this.
I
love to like talk with you about this stuff. It's so fun. And
it is really fun.
To everybody, please write in the comments what you think. What synergies between the companies will we see? Because I think this one is really important now. Looking at the Robotaxi event and now SpaceX pulling this off. It's going to be a bright future. So, Kristen, thank you very much for doing this. And what's up with next for you? Is there something you're about in the Tesla space? Are you doing an event in the future somewhere or whatever? Do you know anything, or is
I'm like unwinding from all this? But what is next? Geesh, I mean, I'm sure
I don't know. But I'm just asking you. Maybe you have something in the pipeline or something you want to head to, or I
want to get on X and ask Elon when we're going to see the booster being caught and the Starship launch or landing at the same time. That's what's
next. You should do that immediately after this episode. And please, everybody, check Kristen out here on X, of course. I'm going to link her bio, or not bio, but her account, on top of here. and we will check if she asks Elon, and
Yes.
if not, we need to write very hateful comments, of course. No, don't do that.
That's so funny.
All right. So, Kristen, thank you very much for doing
Thank
this.
you for having me.
Yeah. See you soon,
Yeah.
everybody.
Okay.
And
Thank
you too. Bye.